He has got a great story. Starting back in 1879, this is going to be about the most amazing person ever to live in Ipswich. I am riveted, and you'll only hear it here. G'day there, Harold.
Yes, good morning, Danny. This is just an incredible story. I couldn't believe when I was researching this. There's just so much happening around this guy's life.
You know, the coppers ought to get you on board as a researcher for murders and that, like cold cases. Because I'm seriously reckoning
let's do the cold cases. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, well, mate, we should get it, you know, that's what you should be doing. Now, what was that bloke Simon used to do it? Simon, whatever his name, the actor Baker?
Oh, Simon Baker.
What was he called?
Simon Baker.
He was like a researcher.
The Mentalist.
The Mentalist.
He was the Mentalist.
Yeah.
No one can beat the Mentalist. He was awesome.
It was awesome. Now, let's tell us about this person from Ipswich.
Yeah, look, it was 145 years ago last week,
right,
on the 17th of February, 1879.
Yeah.
In the Ipswich courthouse, there was the most incredible criminal sitting of the Supreme Court. It was before Justice Alfred Lutwich, who was the first judge of the Supreme Court of Queensland. Prosecuting was Queensland's first Attorney General and the member of the Queensland Parliament for Ipswich, Ratcliffe Pring. Defending was Patrick Reel, who had risen from a 12-year-old apprentice carpenter in Ipswich to become one of the highest earning barristers of his day. Now, Mr. Pring opened the case by saying it was with an amount of pain that he was compelled to discharge his public duty by charging the prisoner with the crime of manslaughter. Now, the facts of the case were that a number of people were fishing from a wharf in Ipswich on the Bremer River.
Right.
One was fishing when two others joined him, and then two more. It was alleged that the original fisherman was deliberately pushed into the river and drowned. Now, after a short consideration, the jury returned a verdict of not guilty. But what was amazing about this case was that all those involved, the victim, the accused, and all the witnesses, were all young boys aged just 10 to 13 years of age.
Wow.
Now, the tragic victim was a 10-year-old boy. The accused was 13 years old, and three of his schoolmates actually collected money for his defence.
Youth crime back then, even.
He was so poor. Yeah, look, his parents were so poor. And the chief witness was 12-year-old Kendall Zillman. Now, he swore that he saw the boy be deliberately pushed into the water. But after cross-examination and other evidence, however, it appears that he made the whole thing up. And it's the story of the young boy Zillman and his father where this becomes even more incredible. You see, the boy's father was the Reverend Doctor John Herman Leopold Zillmann, who was quite simply the most amazing resident in the history of Ipswich ever.
Right.
He was born in Caboolture in 1841 of Polish parents.
Right.
He became a powerful and eloquent speaker and was associated with religious work the whole of his life, except for a period when he was actually up the hill when he was editor of the Darling Downs Gazette in Toowoomba. Anyway, Reverend Zillman was married 5 times. His first 3 wives, they died at a rapid rate within a 5-year period. His second wife, Lavinia Zillman, is buried right here in Ipswich. He sampled many denominations. He was raised by the Moravians, worked as a Wesleyan parson, went over to the Church of England, succumbed to the charms of Congregationalism, and after a time, the Church of England reacquired his liking. He then preached for the Unitarians. Now, Zillman ministered in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, England, and North America. In Australia, he preached from Maryborough and Ipswich, Queensland, to Hamilton in country Victoria. He departed there in a rush after a disagreement with the Anglican authorities. He really didn't get on with the bishop. Here in Ipswich, he was in charge of St Paul's Church. Now, there were heaps of improvements to St Paul's done while he was here. These included the surrounding fence and stone foundations that are there today. In Forbes in New South Wales, he baptised the posthumous child of the bushranger, Ben Hall. In America, he preached in churches and prisons, and there he witnessed the first ever execution by electricity. He helped run a campaign opposing Theodore Roosevelt for the US presidency. He was asked to stand for the United States Senate, but declined. Back home in Queensland, he was approached a number of times to enter Queensland Parliament, but didn't entertain that suggestion either.
No.
He was a close friend of Prime Minister Billy Hughes.
Get out.
The Brisbane suburb of Zillman is named after him. More specifically, after a chain of waterholes called Zillman's Waterholes,
Yes.
where he would meet members of the Lutheran Church to hold open-air services. Danny, this man, he travelled the globe, wrote books, edited newspapers, courted by politicians, witnessed executions, irritated church leaders, baptised bushranger offspring, and even accompanied his second son and his bride on their honeymoon. The Reverend Doctor Zillmann was 77 years old when he died in Sydney in 1919. Now, if he isn't one of the most incredible residents of Ipswich ever, and in fact most amazing Queenslander, then look, I don't know who he is.
What an incredible story here. You've built up to crescendo. You've found facts out. You should be working for the QPS as the mentalist. That's your job. I'll be talking to Roger Godskleski. What's his name?
You've been Steve Golshetsky.
Steve Golshetsky, and I'll have a word to Steve. I think he's an old boy of St Lawrence's, actually.
Right.
And I'll sing the cheer when the black and gold calls forth. And we'll see if we can get you a job at the QPS as the researcher.
Now, that sounds like a pretty good reality show there, doesn't it? You'd
probably
be falling asleep in libraries everywhere.
Probably a couple of 100,000 every year. But, mate, so how do we find this story and other stories? Because this is a really good story you've talked about.
Yeah, look, you go online, you go to all the socials, you find History Out There, but also go to historyouthere.com on the internet. I've got photos of Reverend Zillmann and all these amazing people that he knew, friends, worked with. Historyouthere.com.
Reverend Zillmann, 5 marriages. Oh, my godfather.